This video is sponsored by Squarespace. With a brand spanking new 2026 Formula 1 season ahead of us, the first time with 11 teams on the grid in a decade, 22 drivers on the grid, I think it's fair to say some have more to prove than others. So here's 6 drivers I think particularly need to do well in 2026. Otherwise, their future in this sport is in the gutter. My name's Tommo. Let's talk about it. Checo is back. It is good to see him back on the grid, right? Not just because of the Mexico Grand Prix factor and the vibes he brings, but Checo's a great bloke. I did a video a while ago talking about all his charitable stuff. He's a family man. I have got a lot of time for Sergio Perez, absolutely. And look, the opportunity at Red Bull presented itself. They were right to hire him in the first place. I say that even as an Alex Albon fan. He did a job for the team. And of course, Liam and Yuki's struggles have made Checo's struggles look maybe not quite so bad. They've certainly served in Sergio's favour, if you ask me. After 14 straight years in the sport, he was well overdue a season off, right? Fernando's had time away from the sport. Kimi Raikkonen had time away from the sport. Lewis Hamilton hasn't. Fair play to Lewis, and we might be talking about him in a bit. But yes, Checo has taken a step back. And again, as much as Liam and Yuki's struggles have helped Sergio's case in the perception of fans, it is still the driver who got most slapped by Max Verstappen most recently anyway. And certainly the newer generation of fans who didn't have the advantage of looking at Checo throughout the Force India years particularly don't have that perspective on him. Now he is 35 years of age, which you tell me is that old or young. If you look at Fernando Alonso, who's 44 and still doing bits, then he's a young whippersnapper. But compared to Andrea Kimi Antonelli, he's absolutely ancient. There's arguments for and against Sergio's age as a advantage or disadvantage, especially going into a new regulation cycle with new cars to get adjusted to. Hopefully that experience should help him out alongside of Valtteri Bottas. And that's the key for me, really, how Checo stacks up relative to Valtteri, because I back Valtteri over a lap probably in qualifying. I think Valtteri will have a slight advantage over Sergio. However, race execution, tyre management, all of that, Perez is up there and probably better than Bottas. Plus, of course, they are at Cadillac, who will have a known quantity in their engine, with Ferrari, which is a good thing, but a very unknown quantity in terms of the chassis. We will be looking at comparisons between Ferrari, Haas, and Cadillac a lot, particularly Haas and Ferrari, right? They've got that established Ferrari relationship, have Haas, so that should put them at a slight advantage. But Cadillac are Cadillac, man. The two American marquees going at it with the same engine, and I tell you what, you know, Behrman Ocon is a decent lineup, but Perez, Bottas is way more experienced. I just want Cadillac to give Checo the opportunity to show what he can actually do, and that his career doesn't have to be defined by the demolition job Max Verstappen did on him, in the same way that Albon and Gasly have subsequently been able to turn it around. Franco's introduction to F1 is super interesting, isn't it? It's very unusual, I think. A driver plucked from relative obscurity in Formula 2, right, to replace Logan Sargent at Williams, immediately did a fantastic job, demonstrated top-tier pace, and was stressing me out as an Albon fan, I've got to be honest. He did start crashing, which certainly tailed off the end of his Williams season. But all in all, you can see why Alpine saw potential in him, beyond, of course, the fact that he's Argentinian and the big financial benefit fan base that comes with that. And I retain, you look at last season, right, their head-to-head, Gasly, Colapinto, averaged just over 2/10. I think that was pretty reasonable, and again, given the late introduction from Colapinto mid-season, put in that team, no pre-season testing, right? Jack Doohan got the first 6 races, Colapinto got the rest of the season, and given how much of a god Gasly is over a lap, like I would say that is Pierre's biggest strength, his 1 lap pace. For him to be where he was relative, I think was pretty impressive. And as much as Doohan didn't get deserved to be dropped, blah, 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 all that, and now Doohan has fully left the Alpine programme, it's not like Colapinto didn't deserve it either. Now, of course, Franco needs to get on top of the crash-happy nature. His pace did also slide a little bit towards the end of the season, but I think the bigger factor is that Alpine have got a Mercedes power unit in the back, which is expected to be the best. So if we're gonna say, right, this is gonna be a really egregious quali formula, and even more importantly, a really egregious engine formula, then you've got 4 Mercedes powered cars, which are gonna be the top 4 cars, and Alpine's one of them, which means that's a podium potential car, which means that is more spotlight, more pressure on Colapinto to deliver. If you're crashing, if you're not delivering, and you're in a lower midfield car, you can kind of get away with it in the perception of the wider fan base, but when you're fighting at the top and you've got a car that can get up there, and again, I think if the Alpine's quick enough, David Sanchez, if he can cook from a technical point of view, Pierre will definitely hold up his end of the bargain. I've got no doubt about that. But will Franco, it's going to be tough for him. He needs to have a really solid pre-season testing, stop putting it in the wall, and showcase the potential that I believe he does have. He hasn't shown to me that he's got, generational talent potential, but I think there's a solid F1 driver in there at an absolute minimum. Understandably so, in many fans' eyes, he is only there because of the finances. Can he prove the people wrong? That's right, the TOMMO'S Squarespace relationship is not going anywhere for 2026. They are back again. The all-in-one website building platform trusted by over 14 million entrepreneurs in over 200 countries and territories worldwide can really do it all. Your easy-to-use online storefront, invoicing, scheduling, memberships, donations, blog, whatever you need, Squarespace has you covered. And it's all tied together with Squarespace's award-winning Blueprint AI software, combining artificial intelligence with 20 years of human design expertise. Free to try, only billable when you want to publish your finished website live to the world when that time eventually comes around. Head to squarespace.com/TommoF1 to get 10% off of your very first website or domain. Liam Lawson has not had it easy in F1, has he? Let's be fair to the kid. Dropped into the 2023 AlphaTauri to replace an injured Daniel Ricciardo. He only got 5 races before being whipped back out again. He was dropped in the V-Carb in 2024 to once again replace Daniel Ricciardo, but this time for performance reasons and given the final 6 races of that season. Then he was dropped into the Red Bull for 2025 to replace an underperforming Sergio Perez and got 2 weekends, still insane to me, but there we go, which meant he was back at V-Carb, but this time on the other side of the garage, having not done pre-season testing, alongside Hadjar, who had done pre-season testing and blew everyone's expectations out of the water, didn't he? Made Liam consistently, pretty much, look second best. Better in the second half of the season, but not ideal again. Sure, Lawson hasn't set the world alight, right, at any point during his 3 seasons in the sport, but they've been so in and out. Like, can you blame him? Still managed a 5th in Baku, a 6th in Austria, a 7th in Sao Paulo last season, which aren't bad results at all by any stretch of the imagination. And again, Hadjar was mustard, no question, but that doesn't mean Liam Lawson was bad either. I almost get an Esteban Ocon feel from Liam, right? Both very fighty, both feel like they're having to maybe overextend to prove and showcase they deserve an opportunity. Both have absolute raw talent, unquestionably. I'm just glad that Red Bull have decided to give him a full season, because that's the only way you can really get a proper judgment from the kid as to how good he could potentially be. I know things didn't go well at Red Bull and you feel like that door's never going to reopen, but if with a full season, his first full season with a pre-season and everything, at the same team, at Racing Bulls this season, alongside Lindblad, who is highly rated within Red Bull, if Liam can just do the job, consistently outperform Lindblad and showcase, hang on, I'm pretty good, not only does he give Red Bull a decision to make for the senior team, and if Max Verstappen does decide to leave ahead of 2027, maybe that's an option, but also other teams might look at Lawson this season and think, yeah, he's worth a pump for 27, you never know. But what this also means is that he no longer has that excuse, right? He's going to get a full season, hopefully, in which case he needs to showcase his abilities better and have those high points, those big moments in a better way than he has to date. Otherwise, he's going to get replaced. Solov's waiting in the wings at Red Bull, and who knows with the junior program. With Marco gone, possibly things change there. I think Liam needs a big year. That's basically what I'm saying. Hence why he's in this video, obviously. Esteban Ocon has really struggled for clout during his time in this sport, hasn't he? He was alongside Sergio Perez at Force India, constantly scrapping, and Checo's got a very big fan base, so that resulted in a lot of hate for Esteban. You can carbon copy that over to Alpine alongside Fernando Alonso, right? A very popular teammate, constantly scrapping is what it is. But what that does showcase, the fact that he was able to scrap with Checo and Fernando. Ocon's not a mug. He's not slow. He's up for it. Yet we go to 2025 and look, it doesn't showcase that in the points. Only 3 points between Ocon and Behrman. If you got that one correct in the quiz, well done. If you didn't, then spoiler alert. He was consistently outperformed by Ollie Behrman. He just was. He was not at Ollie's level for a significant chunk of that season last year. A rookie teammate That's not a good look, is it? So then it comes down to, do you think Behrman's generational, and that's just what happens in the same way that Charles Leclerc destroyed Marcus Ericsson, for example, at Sauber in 2018? I think so, because Alonso and Perez were very, very good when they were Ocon's teammates, you know? And it's a new team for Esteban as well as Ollie. I'm giving Esteban benefit of doubt, but I know most people don't, and most people don't really rate Ocon. And I think if there's an opportunity for him to go and he doesn't step up performance-wise, Haas and Toyota will take that. Because you've got to remember, this is the TGR Haas Formula 1 team now. No more MoneyGram as a title sponsor. Toyota were already technical partner at Haas, and now they've stepped up that relationship. Loads of pre-season running as well, off-season running, should I say, in Japan with Sho Saboy and, of course, Ryo Hirakawa. Driving the car. Ritomo Miata's been in the car as well. You've got to think, if an opportunity presents itself for Toyota to push one of their factory Japanese drivers into that seat for 27, they will take it. Now, of course, Ollie Behrman being promoted to Ferrari for 27, maybe replacing Lewis Hamilton, could almost be a blessing in disguise for Esteban, because then that would be, right, okay, you'd slot them in alongside Esteban versus instead of Esteban. But if that doesn't happen, and again, it's a season of Behrman outperforming Ocon, I think the writing would be on the wall, to be honest. Like, I'm genuinely very, very worried for his future in this sport. Esteban needs to prove to Ayo Komatsu and the rest of the team at Haas that he's someone to stick by for the long term. Because you've got to think, right, Toyota will probably develop a power unit for 31 and beyond, 2031, should I say, the next regulation period. I can't see Toyota developing an engine within this new 50-50 regulation period. That wouldn't be a good use of resource, because they'd only get a couple of years of use out of it, right? You stay as a technical partner, let them use Ferrari engines. Toyota fully own that team from 2031. I think that's a pretty safe prediction. And then all of a sudden, this little plucky Haas team look way more appealing if that is to become the Toyota factory team, you know? Esteban will be 34 years of age by then, which is still a year younger than Checo is right now. Drivers seem to be able to go longer, right? Fernando is a prime example, whether it's the nutrition, the health, the comfort in the car, power steering, all this kind of stuff. And Ocon needs to make himself a prime candidate for Toyota going forward. Otherwise, he's in trouble. Lance, another season of consistently being second best to your teammate. And when your teammate's Fernando Alonso, you know, that isn't crazy. But when it's over 3 tenths in qualifying on average to a 44-year-old Fernando Alonso, and your qualifying pace is meant to be the first thing that goes with age, it's not looking great, is it? Look, it is frustrating, of course. Felipe Drugovich, even Yuki Tsunoda, Tao Pourchaire, you know, so many drivers you feel like would merit that seat way more than Lance. However, devil's advocate, pragmatically for Aston Martin, if they can develop a really good car in 2026 and the Honda power unit is good, then maybe just having Fernando to spearhead that title fight is better than having 2 number 1 drivers, okay? I mean, McLaren have shown that they did it, don't get me wrong, but it's not easy. Lance can deliver a decent race. I think his 1-lap pace is clearly not good enough now. And I've said for the longest time, I don't think he's slow. I don't think he's slow in a race, but he just doesn't clearly have that ceiling performance. And every time it rains, that's what I don't understand. Like, every time it rains, he's like Ayrton Senna. It's insane. Yet he delivers the most rookie mistakes after, this is going to be his 10th year in the sport, and he's still only 27 years of age. Newey, Aston, Honda. If this really works, the spotlight is going to be crazy on Lance, right? Because again, you can get away with being mediocre in the lower midfield, but if you've got a car that can not only get podiums but potentially even race wins as well, and you're consistently miles off, that's going to really hurt. And we had a glimpse of this, didn't we, in 2023 when Aston Martin started the season with the second best car for sure, and Fernando Alonso was cooking 6 podiums in those first 8 weekends, 117 points total. As for Lance, in those same 8 weekends, 0 podiums, a best result of P4 in Australia, but only 37 points to 117. Are you crazy? 80 points different in 8. That's 10 points around, Lance. Come on, man. Like, honestly, I am as sick as anyone of talking about Lance. Oh, he's only in here because of his dad and the money and all that. And look, all of these drivers have come from privilege of some form, right? To different extents. Sure, Lance ticks basically every privileged box, but you need money. You need access and to be close to racing tracks. You need to have parents who are willing to put their entire lives on the back burner at times to remortgage houses to get you through, right? That's a form of privilege as well. These drivers all have it, and I'm sick to death of going on about how Lance doesn't merit his seat, because it's been the case for so long now. And unfortunately, like, he's had every opportunity to improve and get better and showcase, because we would all shut up about this if he just performed on track, if he just delivered performances. But he just doesn't. Again, he's only 27 and this is his 10th year in the sport. And surely I'd love to say, oh yeah, there's more ceiling he can grow into because he's only 27. But I don't believe that at all. And if Aston Martin deliver a great car and Fernando delivers some great results and they could win a Drivers' Championship, maybe that would be amazing. But the spotlight, the pressure, the heat on Lance is going to be more than ever. And I just don't want to talk about this anymore. Please, Lance, just step up and be decent. You don't need to beat Fernando. I'm not asking that. Just be within a couple of attempts in qualifying and finish a couple of positions behind him every race, and I think everyone will shut up, myself included. Lewis Hamilton, damn man, what a career he's had, no doubt. But wow, that was a tough watch. You know, there was only one thing about Lewis Hamilton's 2025 that actually surprised me, because I wasn't surprised he was slower than Leclerc over a lap in quali. If anything, he was slightly closer. Yeah, he was just under 2/10 on average the deficit. I thought it'd be slightly more than that, so he did a decent job there. I think Lewis's race execution at times was very good and very comfortable, and also at times he was very uncomfortable in that Ferrari, but also Charles Leclerc was very uncomfortable in that Ferrari at times as well, so that wasn't just a Lewis problem. Let's not pretend that Charles was going off into the distance and winning all these races. You know, he had a bad year, even though he drove very well himself, because that car was just not at the races, was it? It was always going to be an uphill battle in 25 for Lewis. His first year at Ferrari, that didn't surprise me, and what did surprise me is the extent of his negative self-talk. Like, it was really tough to listen to at times, because you could see he was really struggling in himself, and it's very human. Like, I think that's what makes Lewis in part so popular. I'd say the same for Lando as well, where, you know, the drivers who wear their hearts on their sleeves and put themselves at risk of criticism, of people going, why are you complaining, you're an F1 driver, blah blah blah, right? Which is just a very inhuman way of treating these individuals. Just the extent of it concerned me, because this was always going to be a difficult year, and maybe Lewis, I think Fred said himself, he didn't anticipate it would be this much of a struggle, and I don't know, the reality of the situation maybe hit him. But what I would say is that, look, this play was always about 26, wasn't it? It was never about 25, and 25 was a necessary component, because you need to get that season out of the way to learn what works, what doesn't, apply those changes, improvements for 26, blank sheet of paper, a new car to get on top of, both for Lewis and Charles, remember. The optimistic fan of Lewis Hamilton, because I'm a fan of so many of these drivers, and I will always be a fan of Lewis Hamilton because of what he's done for the sport and how he's been a present component in the sport for my entire basic life watching it. I do think there's reason to be optimistic. Again, going into these fresh cars, if he can be within a couple of tenths of Charles in a car that Charles understands a lot better than Lewis, then in a car that they both understand equally, with a bit less grip, a bit smaller, maybe a bit more like the older cars that Lewis used to drive, there's possibility there he could be closer to Leclerc. The adaptation is going to be key. Look, realistically, I don't think there's any world in which Lewis outperforms Charles Leclerc over a season whilst teammates at Ferrari. I don't think that's going to happen. You're asking a lot from a 41-year-old now, remember, right? Lewis is getting towards the end of his career, of course he is. Sunday Grand Prix are where Lewis should shine brightest, and look, it's just, who knows where that Ferrari power unit's going to be. Honestly, I'd love to back the Scuderia, but we've done it too often. I predicted Charles Leclerc to win the title in 25. That obviously did not happen. I'm not going to make that same mistake again, I assure you. But if that car is really not there, if it's not good enough, then, you know, Lewis won't stick around, will it? There's no way he goes to another team. This is his last team in Formula One. And with Ollie there as well, that doesn't help his case. If Ollie has another step forward in 2026 and really puts the beating on Esteban Ocon, then Ferrari are going to be looking at him and being like, we might need to make this swap, even if Lewis doesn't want to make it. I don't know, like, maybe that could be the thing. In the same way that Piastri replaced his countryman Daniel Ricciardo at McLaren. Maybe Ollie Behrman replaces his countryman Lewis Hamilton at Ferrari. A big season, not just from Lewis himself, but Ferrari is needed to keep him interested. Those are the 6 drivers I think have most to prove in 26, but let me know if I've missed any. Put them down in the comments below, would be greatly appreciated. Apologies for the makeshift backdrop. This is our bedroom. We are in a new house and I'm having my office bespoke space built at the moment in the back of the garden. But unfortunately that won't be ready for another few weeks. Livery design season is soon to begin as well. I've already made a start on a few base designs and we'll see how they turn out. First launch will be Red Bull, of course, in Detroit at 3 AM UK time, which there is no way I'm covering that live, but I will get my redesign out as soon as I humanly can afterwards. So don't forget to like, subscribe, interact. Welcome to Tommo in 2026. It's a pleasure to be back. The CHINWAGs will also be back sooner rather than later. I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to do my first one. We'll work that one out. That's all right. My name's Tommo. Thanks again. Have a good one. Ta-da.